Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to an interrogation. A little chat with your old scruffy JD. This is for March of the Writers, day 20. I'm catching up. Day 20 is supposed to be breaking the block and just talking about how we overcome writer's block. And it's a topic that I've spoken about before. Been able to help a couple of people, and they've been able to help me. So there's stuff to learn from everyone in terms of how to overcome this. Writer's block or writer's fatigue is just something really common, and it could happen for a myriad of reasons. It's not the top 10 reasons you get writer's block or stuff like that. What happens to you only. Could be similar to other people, but it's always going to have its own flavor and its own challenges and its own solution. So people often ask me how I stay active and blah blah blah. And I've published so many books, and the reality is that the way that I do things, it just gives the illusion that I am on a tear. When you work on different things at the same time and you can release them either organized or disorganized, which is my plan for this year. My plan for this year is just to publish a lot of books. So I know we're getting into April, but hold. Anywho, since I'm working on so many different things, people get this illusion of speed. And it's just working on something and then switching to something else and just trying to stay focused and motivated and interested and engaged and just needing to finish a project. And needing to finish a project is actually something that has been a challenge the last couple of years. A lot of personal things have been going down, a lot of changes, pandemic and whatnot. And just finishing a project has been its own little challenge. So last year I was facing this problem, and fortunately the solution of how to stay productive came in the way of my blog and doing interviews and stuff like that, and getting invited to participate in not one but two short story collections, one in Spanish, one in English, both horror related. That was fun, and it helped me tap into different things, because that's one of the ways that I overcome writer's block. Doing different things, writing different things, reading different things, watching different things, playing different things. Variety is the spice of life, but beyond that, it also helps you look and find connections where normally there wouldn't be. It's a very interesting concept for me, because man, I can find a psychology book fascinating or philosophy book fascinating. Even a self-help book. I think the two types of books that get the least amount of love are romance and self-help. People go like, oh God, you're reading self-help. I know a lot of people like that, and they have their opinions for valid reasons. I'm not going to say otherwise, but I can't say that I haven't read self-help books that are good, or nonfiction that is good and that isn't good, because that would be completely false. I've read fascinating stuff in the self-help and health and mental health, psychology and motivation and philosophy and stuff like that I find fascinating. And if you find something fascinating and you can phrase it in a way that's fascinating, you can engage in an audience that is there and hasn't found that because you haven't written it yet. There's an anime and manga called Spice and Wolf about trading and economy and stuff like that. And there's no violence. The drama is always about, economic stuff. And it's a very compelling watch. I haven't read it yet. Or correction, I did read one manga, and it was also a compelling read. And it's odd, because why is that compelling? But it just is. It has its own flavor. There's nothing like it. So who knows? Maybe you have that cupcake baking adventure that everyone's pining for. Why not? Maybe the solution to something that your character has to do comes from trying some weird fermented food Kimchi, for example, from Korean food, is not something that most people have tried. And if you smell it, odds are you're gonna go like, "Am I really gonna try that?" Try it. It's delicious. It's weird, but trying different things, reading different things, listening to different things. The good thing about listening to music that's not your typical jam and listening to world music is that a lot of rock and roll, a lot of pop is 4x4 in terms of musical tempo. One, two, three, four. That. When you listen to salsa cha cha cha, it's 3x4. And when you listen to other stuff like metal and math rock, what they call math rock, they have very particular time signatures. If you listen to Soundgarden for alternative rock and Tool and Meshuggah for metal and heavy metal, and I do a distinction because I think Meshuggah is heavier than Tool. Tool is, I think, is more accessible, and sometimes you want it raw. Listening to how they approach music and seeing how they do that, it just taps into different things in your brain. Plus, if you listen to a variety of things, if you watch a variety of things, and you have good retention, it'll just feed the beast. So that's something that you can do to help the block. Physically speaking, doing exercise in the morning, meditating, those two things are often recommended, but something that's not often recommended, I have recommended it and it's worked for me, is writing with your non-dominant hand. I am right-handed. Try writing with your left and see what happens. It's a very interesting experience because for me, my process is that I have to concentrate way more. I have to breathe deeply so that my handwriting is understood, and it's so hard to use my left hand that when I use my right, boom, it's just like running. It's like I have to catch up with all my thoughts. Writing physically. Yes, a lot of people do this, but this is very different in terms of mental operations than this. When you spell out a word, when you do it in cursive versus block letters, when you do it in cursive, it's connected and it's kinetic in a very beautiful way. When you're doing this, you're taking a message and you're breaking it down into movements between your left and right hand, and sometimes that's very good for certain types of writing for me, or it's sometimes in some parts of the process like editing, obviously it has to be on the computer. Well, not always. I have printed stuff out and then write and then transcribe the revisions. But, doing that and engaging your mind and not having a screen in front of you is a beautiful thing. It's something that a lot of people don't know what it's like. It's like, think about it. When's the last time you spent more than an hour away from a screen? Readers are gonna say that, every day, and that's a great thing. But with writing, I also use large notebooks, short notebooks, long legal pads, and different stuff. Depends on what I'm writing. If I want a really long, lush conversation or description and stuff like that, I'm probably going to use a legal pad because I have more space there. And I have actually written scenes out in Post-its and then transcribed it. And it was a really interesting process because I was even able to shuffle them around a bit and realize that how I wrote them the first time around was pretty close to how I wanted, but changing one thing for another actually had a really interesting result. So I don't know how much I can shuffle what I write. It's an idea, but again, it's something that takes your formula and breaks it. And I constantly love breaking and reinventing the formula with new projects that I'm doing, which works for me. Some people stick to that formula. My worry with the formula is if you're using the formula, this formula, and that's the only formula you have, and suddenly that doesn't work, that's when you have problems. So having a plan B and a plan C and a project B and a project C, so if something is not flowing in project A, for whatever reason, you can shift. And it's like when you take a shower or you're driving, your brain relaxes because you're doing something that's mechanical, and yes, you've done it a million times. So it's not like you float away and are paying attention to the road, but you're relaxed enough so that ideas can seep through. And that's it's a really interesting concept And it's a really interesting process finding what works for you to let go and disengage your brain. So yeah, those are a couple of recommendations. Reading in more than one language, if you know more than one language, that just opens up different ways to attack a sentence, just because culturally speaking, how people write in English and how people write in Spanish and how people write in the US and the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and the translations that they've done of these texts, depending on where the translation is, it's a different approach to words, and that's always a fascinating thing. In terms of writing, man, writing poetry and journaling are great things and great ways to, jumpstart yourself. If you can't write on your story, you can write about what you're experiencing, and that's why journal is very important, because maybe it just lets you loosen up the hand, or maybe, just maybe, you write about something, you go like, I'm gonna use that for a story, which is something that a lot of us do. So here's a couple of suggestions. I'm gonna see how else I catch up with March of the Writers. Thank you to everyone who's been participating. It's been a lot of fun seeing your videos. It's been a lot of fun sharing, commenting, and I'm doing actually an album on Facebook. So if you want to see the pictures of different people and what they've done, I'm putting everything on there. I've taken screenshots of everything. It's been cool. It's always cool. It's a lot of work, and it's completely worth it, because the way that people attack it is very interesting. Some people ask me, can I do this? And I'm like, do whatever you want, just have fun. The only rule of March of the Writers is have fun. How you go about it, if you want to tackle several prompts at the same time, if you want to join in, even though we're in the 20s of the month, why not? Oh no, don't lament, don't regret. If you want to do the last 30 days, do the last 3 days. If you want to do the last day or the last 2 days, do it. If you want to do a video, doing all the prompts in one long ass 2-hour video, why the hell not? The idea is to get you creative. So if any of the prompts that I've done have helped you with that, please let me know if I haven't seen it already. And until next time, peace, love, and Maki rolls. Keep on writing, keep on marching, and all the best to you.